Hey, so in this video, I'm going to be talking about the differences between quotation, paraphrase, and summary. And I know this sounds wicked obvious, but it's maybe not quite as obvious as it first seems. So all three of these are ways to provide evidence from outside sources to support your topic. But what's the difference? And you might be thinking, my goodness, I already know the difference, but I'll tell you, I didn't really know the difference between paraphrase and a summary until graduate school. So it might not be as obvious as it seems. Plus, I'm going to talk a little bit about when you use each of these different kinds of writing about sources. So quotations, let's start with what most people seem to know already. So quotations restate the exact language of the source that you're using in your paper, and they always go in quotation marks. And they're usually introduced with a signal phrase, such as "he writes," followed by the exact language of the author. So here's an example. Here we have the original Boston Globe magazine article by Kevin Fudge, right? And he's writing about different approaches for people getting jobs out of high school so that not everyone needs to go to college. That's what he's kind of arguing. So as Kevin Fudge writes for Boston Globe magazine, here is my signal phrase, and here is the quote. "The way forward for many people requires skill development and talent identification in K-12 education. In some other states, nonprofit organizations partner with private sector employees to create apprentice learning opportunities for kids as young as middle school students." All right, so that's the exact same wording as the original. I haven't changed anything, right? It's in quotation marks. That's my quote. So when do I use quotes? You really should use quotes like spices. Use them to show how a source uses interesting language as evidence to support an idea. And then also think about using quotes sparingly. So think of it like maybe using garlic, like you want to use some, right? And you want to keep them short, but you don't want to overwhelm your dish. Maybe more like cinnamon. I like to use a lot of garlic. But you don't want to put like half a can of cinnamon into your cookies. You just want to sprinkle the cinnamon on so that it enhances the taste of your cookies. You don't want to overpower your paper with quotes. You don't want to overpower your cookies with cinnamon. This is actually kind of a terrible quote. But it shows you what a quote is. Ideally, you'd have some interesting language to showcase within a quote, and or get an idea across particularly well. All right, so what's the difference between a paraphrase and a summary? This is that big question I kind of hinted at earlier. So a hint toward the answer. Both of them should be written in your own words, so you're not quoting anybody. But the difference has to do with length. So what's longer, a quote or a paraphrase? All right, here's the difference. A paraphrase is about the same length as the original passage. A summary is shorter than the original passage, just hitting on the main ideas. And I'll show you examples of what I mean here. So here is this long article. You can't read it. It's tiny print, but this is how long it is. It actually goes on a little bit longer. Here's my summary. And I'm not going to read the summary, but you can see this is how long it is. It hits upon the main points. And I have to say, I think it's pretty good, fair summary of the article. Paraphrases, on the other hand, are about the same length as the original passage. And I will read these two things to you because I think paraphrasing is really tricky, and I want to show you one example of how it can be done. So the original article, this article, is about how working from home has been tried in the past. So in the era of COVID, when more people are working from home, there's lessons to be learned from work from home experiments that have been tried in the past. So that's the basic idea. And then this passage is about one experiment in working from home that went especially badly. So here's the original text. One very public setback for remote work was at Best Buy, the Minneapolis-based electronics retailer. The original program, which drew national attention, began in 2004. It aimed to judge employees by what they accomplished, not the hours a project took or the location where it was done. Sounds good, doesn't it? Anyway, so Best Buy killed the program in 2013, saying it gave the employees too much freedom. And this is by David Straightfield. Working from home has a checkered past in the New York Times. Here's my paraphrase. Note, I'm not just going through with the thesaurus and changing out every couple of words. I want to try really hard not to plagiarize, and that can be tricky. And it means not using too many of the original words or words from the original passage and trying to change up this sentence structure. So it's really my own language. So here's how I wrote it. Best Buy is one company that attempted and later backpedaled on a work-from-home program. The retailer's 2004 initiative began with the announcement that the company would no longer assess employees based on hours spent in the office. Instead, the company would count actual work accomplished. The initiative quickly gained national publicity. However, by 2013, the effort backfired, ending with the announcement that the novel system allowed workers too much flexibility. So what do you think? Did I do it? That's the question. All right. So you can see that I paraphrased here. I put citations here. And you can see, I think, the difference, at least between a paraphrase and a summary. All right, so here's the question. Why should I use paraphrase and summary when quoting is easier and it allows for sources to speak for themselves? This is a really good question. Sometimes I have this question too. So reading long quotes can actually be really exhausting for a reader. Think about the last time you were reading something, you came across like this long block quote of text and how demoralizing it can be to have this big quote to have to read. You don't want to do that to your reader. Also, summaries and paraphrases help to move your paper along and showcase your own voice. It's much easier to read. Paraphrasing and summarizing demonstrate that you've done your reading and thinking, and taking these steps actually increases your credibility as a writer. So those are good reasons to use paraphrase and summary, even though it's a little more challenging. Just takes a little practice. All right, I look forward to seeing your paraphrases, summaries, and quotes in future papers. Thank you.